Brenda will not be with us this evening. She had an event she had to be at, and she told us at the last meeting, so we have 4. And our superintendent will not be here due to previous commitments as well, so they chose a good agenda, it looks like, as far as depth of it. We don't have a deep one today. I would ask that we all stand, please face the flag if you're so inclined for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I haven't heard of any ups or extras on any agenda additions or deletions, so I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kurt.
I'll second.
Seconded by Rob. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. During the course of the evening, board members, I would like you to take a look at this. Since Beth couldn't be here, she highlighted some notes for us to consider. Okay, scheduled presenters, Kirsten and Deb, NHS conversation.
Where would you like us to stand?
I would like it up here so the
Okay.
camera can be on you.
Okay.
Well, Kirsten and I have been NHS advisors for about, I think this is our 8th year. Kirsten first started. Barb Byron was the advisor before us.
Thank you.
And he asked us a couple questions. What is NHS and how does NHS impact our high school?
So Deb, in her usual efficient self, put a sheet together for us and for you to look at. NHS began with secondary principles. They wanted to focus on academic leadership and community and school involvement for students and to encourage that. And so it was back in the 1900s. That's what one of the kids said to me the other day. You went to school in the 1900s? Yes, I did. So anyway, we at Cannon Falls, we have juniors and seniors involved with NHS. Some schools might include their 10th graders, or they might have a junior NHS. And so here we include the juniors and seniors. In October, we ask those that meet the GPA requirements to submit their materials. And they're looked at in character, leadership, scholarship, and service. And along with their materials, we actually asked them too for a letter of recommendation from someone in the community. Hopefully it's not a parent and not someone at the school. I think we look for a letter from someone out in the community to show the community involvement. And then we have a faculty council of at least 5 members who look at the materials and then offer membership. Right now, we have 12 seniors who are active from last year, and then we have almost 26 juniors have filled out the material, have submitted materials to be considered this year as a member for NHS. So they'll find out towards the end of October. It encourages students to take a challenging course load, have high grades, promotes them to be involved in leadership roles and be a leader. We kind of, even on the application, we ask them to describe themselves as a leader because they're not always the president of the class or the captain of the football team or something. They might have other leadership qualities. So that's why we kind of changed it from listing your active or your leadership roles to how are you a leader in the school and the community. And encourage positive behavior, honesty, reliability, It promotes them to be involved in things, and actually our NHS students are so involved that we keep them to one activity a month because they are so busy with their academics, with their other activities out in the community and within the school that it's hard to get them to do other things. So we have one activity about every month, and I've got that we have that listed. Each month we usually do one thing, and then they do homework help or tutoring. 2 days a week they offer that, and that's usually once we have all the NHS members on board so that we can fill all the spots. And then it goes through April, May, depending on how many students are still coming for that. And then actually they each do their own, every year they each do their own new community involvement, service learning type of activity, and they present to each other at the end of the year. So not only do they do all the group activities, they each do an individual activity, and it's something new, something that's not already on their resume, something that they can add to it.
And then on the back are all the service projects that we're involved in. Our food drive, we've been doing that for years. We always have it right before Christmas. We're going to look at the calendar. This year's date, I think, of the 12th to the 16th. Our high school blood drive has been going on for years. That's always held the first week in March, kind of when winter sports are ending and spring sports are starting with a little bit of a gap. A lot of 16-year-olds for the very first time will give blood. Feed the Starving Children, we've been active in that for many, many years. That's always held right before Thanksgiving on a Saturday. Many of our students who are in a contest maybe on a Saturday will help with setup on Friday night. We ring the bell for Salvation Army. It's right down by the bakery. All the money goes to our Green County. We have backpacks each month with our local Rotary Club. Yep. Tutoring and homework help. January, we help elementary PTO with their mini golf event. We do the highway ditch cleanup twice a year, each fall and each spring. Memorial Day, we help the veterans by placing the flags on the cemetery, and then after Flag Day, we go and take them off. We always have new things that come up. Last year, we had a veteran approach us. He would like to have some help moving, so we helped him with that. This year, Joe Coyle has approached us with the Rotary Club. They have a big event happening next spring, so we're going to get our new members hopefully on board with that. Do you have any questions for us?
Thank you. Just when it comes down to if they, whoever they meet the criteria, how do, I mean, it's like, you can't, if they meet all the criteria, they're not automatically in, or are they, I mean, is it, this is a criteria, you meet this, because sometimes it's like, you know, leadership and character, is that come down to a role of the staff saying, you know, what do you think? You know, or how is that determined in something like this?
Well, the scholarship, the GPA is 3.6, so that's what qualifies them, and that.
And we also take a look at, are they taking AP classes, are they taking challenging courses?
Yeah, so that goes for the scholarship. So it really depends on the pool of who's applying, and what they have, and you know, in the faculty council, they each have their ballot, and in each area they would score a student 1 to 10. And so then the ballots are all added together, and those who have the highest number are considered for membership.
Okay. And then I think we set the GPA, right? That can be anywhere from
Yep,
such and such.
it has to be at least B, at 3.0 at least through the National Honor Society.
Okay, thank you.
So you don't have necessarily a cap number of students.
Not necessarily.
You may have
We
Little
usually have,
flexibility in the range.
yeah, we have a little flexibility. We usually have an average of 25. I think, was it last year, or the year before, we had 28, that was our biggest group.
And we have a number of juniors that have applied this year too. It's another record year, so that compliments to them, don't have that high GPA.
Yeah.
The difficult thing for you to come up with your numbers, I don't know what the right terminology is, but I was going to ask exactly the same question, because it gets down to that 5-member council, if you will, that reviews all.
Which some, I mean, some year, we've had up to 8 faculty members on there. And it's a range from 8th grade to 12th grade teachers. So, you know, sometimes it gives an idea of, you know, there's different ratings maybe, and from middle school up to senior high. And
Thank you.
it's difficult. They're all good applicants. I mean, obviously, you know, when they have the high GPA and they have AP classes and that kind of thing, it's a difficult thing to make that.
And then those that do not get membership their junior year, we meet with them. We have some, you know, we can give them some pointers how to improve their application. We encourage them then to apply to their senior year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second scheduled presenter is Jen Chappie, our AP, who's going to talk to us about MCA celebration and data. Jen. Yep.
I just make a copy.
Just keep talking.
So anxious. All right.
Every direction.
All right, so I'm going to try and navigate this, the PowerPoint as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. So like last year, I'm here to present on the MCA data from 2016. Many reasons to celebrate, as you'll see as we go along. So this first slide, and the one that's on the handout in front of you, you'll see a trend as we go through here. We're going to talk about elementary in particular, and then we'll compare it to some area schools. So our Cannon Falls Elementary, the far right column is 2016. So our state average, and this would be elementary math, so grades 3, 4, and 5. Cannon Falls was 65.4, and the state average was 59.5. So you can see red is Cannon Falls on the chart below, and black being the state average. This is where we are looking at our area school comparison. So you will see, again, by year on the bottom. So blue, 2014, red, 2015, and the most recent is that green color. Sweet area school comparison.
What's the line that goes across?
The line that goes across, that is going to be where Cannon Falls is currently at. So that way you can see above the line, kind of below the line. Any questions? You'll stop me, I know, I trust you. So our, this is secondary math. So we're moving from elementary to secondary. Cannon Falls, right there, just a little below state average. So you can see red on the bottoms, Cannon Falls, black is state. So obviously we have some goals. And our amazing work that I spoke to last year in PLCs, this is not an area of concern for me. So our area comparison, again, that line is where we are currently at. So this chart, which I actually credit Mr. Hodges, I think it was somebody else I credited before, is one that is really pleasing for me to look at. It allows you to follow it by grade. The earlier slides I was showing to was just comparing it by year, so that's really hard to compare when you're not comparing it by set of students. So for example, if you look at dark purple, in third grade, they would have been at 74.4. Their fourth grade year, 60.2. In 2016, their fifth grade year, 63.3. And like when I presented to staff, we could look at this for a while, as I've spent a number of minutes looking this over and seeing the different trends, but I do value your time that you've had a chance to take a look at this ahead of time, most of you, some of you. Elementary school reading. So our reading for 2016 is 58.4, the state being 59.7. And when we compare that in this next slide to the area school comparison, I think originally it was obviously anytime you see you go below state average, in some districts it becomes this huge red flag, and in other districts they look at that as, okay, where do we go next? And I think that's the work that we're doing in our PLCs and the collaboration that's going on that will hopefully have that increase. Secondary reading. So state average of 59.7, Cannon Falls at 64.1. This is one of those celebration slides. Anytime we see that red that far ahead of our state average is amazing. Area comparison. You'll stop me if I'm going too fast. So this is that tracking slide, just like math. Pick a color and you follow it as it goes through. So this is something, again, that was shared with all staff. So this is going to be common language within PLCs, taking a look at what is it that we need to do to make progress.
Jen, would you move back to that?
Yep.
When you see a progression like that, light green going from 57 third graders to 38, is there any value judgment you can make on that? Just as an educator, do we sometimes have whole classes that are, I don't know what the right term would be.
I don't know what the right term is either, but yes, that has been an area that especially Mr. Bell and I have talked about. And sometimes it's a whole class kind of, and so we just hope in 2017 that we see a little bit of an increase, because that was a pretty big drop. And also at the grade level, remember those tests are getting more and more challenging, so I just want to make sure you're aware of it at that standpoint too.
And are you able to determine, when did the iPads come into play for third grade? Was that 2 years ago? Last year? Can you tell if there's anything with that at all? Like, is there any struggles with it? Are they learning well with these? And does it reflect at all on here at all? Hard to say, I suppose, yet.
Yeah, it is hard to say. I don't know if Derek would have something to add to that.
MCA's scores aren't going to tell you that.
They won't?
No.
Okay.
But, to speak to that group of fourth grade kids now in fifth grade, we've looked pretty long and hard at that group of kids in particular, and it's nothing really. We can't target the teachers, because the teachers did the same thing they've done before, and it's a group of kids that have some different struggles that other kids might not, and they did not make as much progress as the test would like them to, because the level of proficiency gets that much higher and that much harder to meet proficiency every grade level they go up. We've got our work cut out for us this year, and we've started off differently than maybe we would have in other years in pinpointing certain students that we're really trying to work with through our RTI program. So,
Conversely, when you look at the light purple and you see the fourth grade moving up in 1 year by 22 points, that's very significant.
yeah, that was an impressive thing, and I will attest that some of that to our PLC process. The fact that our 5th grade team really dedicated a lot of time and energy to literacy in particular, and the conversations that they had through PLCs. We also implemented full-scale Daily 5. It's a reading. It's a structure within the literacy block that works, and 5th grade took a hold of that a little bit more than others did. But overall, you'd like to see those gains, but that's probably an anomaly as well that you wouldn't typically see. But
I think you need to be very careful also about trying to. This chart actually oversimplifies the issue quite a little bit, because the proficiency level in each grade level changes. So, each year the proficiency level or difficulty of the test gets more difficult as the year goes on. Probably what is a fair comparison would be if you looked at the state average compared to our average year to year, if you wanted to see, growth throughout that. So, it's wonderful when we have from 1 year to the next where we see a major change, but there are so many factors that go into that, the group of kids. I mean, even when you look at that, if we're within a couple of percentage points of one place or another, when you keep in mind, we're talking about percentages, that's a couple of kids is all, can change those percentages pretty radically just for a couple of kids being proficient or not proficient from year to year. So,
So it's not concerning?
No, no. We're not seeing any major trends where I don't think in either building where things are going down. We have seen some trends that we're pretty happy about, and I think Jennifer's going to show the science here in a little bit where we've seen some pretty nice increases, which I think have a lot to do with the way things are being done differently in the classrooms. But the way we look at this data, we're fairly steady, and we're seeing some slight increases from year to year. So we're happy with where things are.
That's good, because as I look at this chart, if I look at the 4th grade all the way across, every year it seems to either is there a different curriculum when they jump from 3rd to 4th grade?
And that's that proficiency level. There's probably the biggest difference in proficiency level between 3rd and 4th grade as there is between any 2 grades in the whole thing. I mean, we go to the state assessment conference every year, and we listen to the the statisticians and the psychometricians who figure out these numbers and figure out what an MCA score is going to be. And I think half the time it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us. It is really a lot of statistical kind of gamesmanship almost with the numbers to make things fit into certain categories. So, as a classroom teacher, it's pretty easy. You take a percentage of the problems that a student gets right on the test, and you figure out a grade from there, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the number of questions a kid gets right on the test or not. So
it's kind of interesting that the following year they spike right up there again, like it's not a...
Right.
You don't see this,
Yep.
There's a weakness and they don't,
Exactly.
don't fall behind.
the state average follows that same
Right.
trend, so it's not just Cannon Falls. Well, one other thing to remember is that we had last year we had 11 kids move into the 1 grade level in that 4th grade group over the summer. So in a group of 80 kids or so, from 75 to 85, you get 11 new kids in that class, and you can't really compare that now any longer, because you never know where those kids came from or what their background is. So it's also one other thing to keep in mind. But
The MCAs are universal across all districts and the state then. So if we were to compare the different schools, it's the same test, same
Correct.
productivity, same proficiency.
Yep. Now, the mode of taking the test it could be different. We chose to still take them on desktop computers. Other districts are opting for the iPads or Chromebooks, I believe, which does throw in a little bit of a difference in there, but again, nobody can quantify that and how much difference it makes. But keep that in mind that it is now, the test now is compatible with iPads and Chromebooks.
When did we have problems with MCAs? Was that 2 years ago? That the state had problems?
Yeah, that was actually the testing company that had a problem, so they had a denial of service attack on their servers, and I don't think we were actually testing the week that they had the major problems, but we still had problems. They had problems all through the testing process 2 years ago, in 2015.
Elementary science, state average for our grade 5, remember this is only given in grade 5, 61.6. Cannon Falls is at 74.4. So you can see consistently quite a bit ahead of the state average all the way across for the last 4 years.
One thing to keep in mind too about the science in 5th grade is that it's a banded test. So you're looking at the 5th grade kids are being tested on standards throughout their entire K-5 schooling. Same with middle school and high school. Is it's not just the 5th grade standards that are being tested on like it is with other subjects. So 5th grade is they're being tested on knowledge that they learned in kindergarten up through 5th grade. So it's a testament to the entire school and the curriculum, not just the 5th grade teams. Keep that in mind.
Well, it's interesting because I'm looking, when you got the reading history of the 5th graders, they're at 75.6 in reading. And correct me if I'm wrong, when you go down into science, that same class at 74.4, is that how that correlates across the same group of kids?
Yep.
Okay. It would be interesting then, because next year then, the 4th grade class of this year will be testing in science next year in the 5th grade. It'd be interesting to see how you could correlate the class across as well in the different areas at the same time.
I like that. I would love to be able to, yeah, I think that's great.
Just
It
to
would
see
be
how they're in
interesting
different
to
stuff. We see all the kids in a grade as they progress, but we don't see, I guess, across all 3 subjects that 1 year, how did that class do as a whole the next year? How does that class do and progress?
Easily do that.
Would it?
So elementary school area comparison. So that red line is going to correspond with where we're at. Those lines make me angry sometimes because they don't sometimes go exactly where I want them to. Anyway. So you can see 3rd in the area comparison, the districts that we are looking at. So very proud of that. And I know we have the new science floss kits at the elementary, so very anxious to see how those are implemented in the classroom and what effect that has on our test scores as well. Secondary science, so this test is taken in grades 8 and 10. State average 54.7, Cannon Falls 67.1. I like the trend from each year as it goes, so that is very nice to see and much reason to celebrate for this old science teacher.
And it's the same kind of thing as Jarek said. 6th, 7th, and 8th, the 8th grade test is a banded test. So in 8th grade, they're tested on science material that they've started in 6th grade in those things. So I do know one thing with the high school and the secondary science, they have made some major changes to the way they do business. And that I think is directly attributable to the rise in scores that they've done. So they've been doing some kind of innovative things with their curriculum and how they prepare kids for the MCA, and they're starting to see the results of that. And if you track that back, 2013 is the year that we really kind of started with our PLCs and started with some of the the early releases kind of stuff. And this is one department that is should be complimented on the work that they've done. I think they've done a phenomenal job looking at what they need to do and making changes to their curriculum to prepare kids for those tests.
area comparison. Again, very pleasing to look at and a reason to celebrate. This is one that's interesting to look at, being that we're following 5, 8, and 10th graders, so that the colors will match up accordingly, but it is a little bit hard to. So in 5th grade, if you're looking at the orange in particular, 2011 at 40%, to 8th grade at 42, to 10th grade at 70. So a lot of goes into the development of the brain as well when it comes to middle school students and what that entails. So this, I just have 3 last slides for you. This is just an overall, so this is going to be as a district overall. And this is our math. So where that red line is where we currently stand as a complete district overall. And this is reason to celebrate. So. This is our district overall in reading. In the area school comparison. And the last one in science. Any last questions?
Just on the, I like the district overall. I know on the map you're saying that, reason to celebrate, the trend does seem to be going down, not bad, but just a little bit. Is there something in play to, science is shooting for the moon, I know you've made changes in science, you said. Is there any thoughts and plans on overall for math? I know the elementary school math is going down as well, to bring that and to curve that back up, I think. And I don't know, Derek, math in the elementary school seems to have been at the higher end, something that we've struggled with for quite a few years. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, keep in mind the state has gone down as well, so the test is getting probably harder. But, math is going to be the next thing we review. It'd be great if we didn't have to cut over the last, however many, 4 or 5 years and have to worry about that. That does come into play, that some of our curriculum could be outdated, and now we're putting a lot more stress on teachers finding their own to meet these standards. But, again, our PLC process is what's driving a lot of these, the collaboration and conversations between teachers is really gonna extend these scores where we need them to be, regardless of the curriculum. But that certainly didn't put us in the right direction to begin with. So we're kind of backtracking a little bit and making sure that our curriculum is sound with the standards. But
Yeah, do you think with the integration with the technology, do you think that would be a part of this process that may change with the math, or is it too early to tell?
it's too early to tell how much impact, but it's certainly a goal that we would like to see is these kids finding more ways to engage the kids in learning, and math would be one area. And the more we can engage them using the technology that they have in front of them, the better. But yeah, it's pretty early still. Amy's got her hands full.
Any thoughts as you went through and you had the area school comparisons? So Royal and Pine Island always seem to be substantially higher than everybody else. Any thoughts on why that is?
Well, my initial reaction is that they're teaching straight to the test.
And that was my next question.
That's what I don't know if my,
when you say that, how do they do that? They have mock tests and they do that, or how do they teach to the test? I guess that's it.
so that's one way in particular. They could be That's really the only way that I know that they can teach the test is if they're going straight off of the mock test year after year after year.
Yeah, because if you look at the other schools, they're all pretty close percentage-wise, and those who just on every subject just seem to be off the chart compared to everybody else.
They trend the same way as we do too, kind of.
Yeah, but we don't teach the test though.
They're trending the same direction we are without,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So with all this, it looks good and a wonderful job, but what can you guys take away from this, looking at this now? What does this tell you? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, you can't tell a whole lot because the MCAs aren't a good indicator of this and this. But what does this tell you?
Well, for me, I'm coming from another district who thinks they have PLCs working. So for me, to come here, almost all of these slides are reason to celebrate, being the work that's being done in the PLCs. So my takeaway from this is we're headed in a great direction. And especially seeing it started in 2 years in a row for me, so.
My takeaway is that it's one day and it's a couple hour snapshot of a kid's learning. I don't put too much into it. But, you know, I know that our kids are learning. I know our teachers are working hard at their jobs, so I don't look too much into this. I look at more of the growth that I see from fall to spring, and even spring to spring from kids on our other assessments using STAR and Ames Web.
And I agree with Derek. I think it's far more important to me for where we take a kid from the fall into where we get them in the spring is more important to me than this one test. You know, the other, I try to keep a pretty good perspective on MCAs too, and especially when we're looking at percentages like that, because again, you know, one of the things that we've learned at the assessment conferences, on any given day, a student, their students are graded on a scale score on the MCA test, and anything that is a 50 and above is proficient, and below 50 is not proficient, either partially proficient or not proficient. And anything from basically 55 to 45, what the statisticians tell us is on any given day, those kids can be proficient or not proficient, just on the vagaries of the day. We have a lot of kids that fall within that range. And when I'm working with Pat Bronk and when I'm working with Brian Swanson, we look at those kids who are from 45 to 55, and we try to provide as much extra support as we can to that level, because we know that that's the group that we have that will have probably the best opportunity to move up above that 50 on a consistent basis. So, you know, when you look at that, there are 7 grades that are made up in that score. So you're talking right at about 600 students in our school district. So, you know, 6 kids being proficient or not proficient changes that percentage pretty dramatically. So, you know, we're not talking a huge number of kids that are not proficient. We're talking about a handful of kids, and we've got a lot of kids that, again, any given day might be above that line or below that line, just on whether they had they had a good breakfast, or they got to bed late, or the dog woke them up, or that kind of stuff. So I like looking a lot more at the STAR scores from the beginning of the year and seeing the growth over the complete year with those kids with that.
Is the state of Minnesota committed to the MCAs long term, or is this just an outcome of today, let's say?
Well, the MCAs originally came about because of No Child Left Behind, and the new Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, kind of requires every state to continue to have some sort of testing. And I don't believe the state has any plans to move away from MCA testing. It's not as high stakes as it was at one point, because there was a point where kids either graduated or they didn't graduate based on their performance on a reading and a math test, and that has been done away with. But we will continue to use this benchmark testing. It's it's kind of a reality that we live in today, is we need something to compare ourselves with everybody else. So
I believe they're trying to move towards a growth model within the MCAs, similar to what these other assessments are giving us. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, and I can't remember what they said at our most recent assessment conference, but I know that that's coming probably to where it's not about the one test score that they've made, it's more about the growth that the kid's making. And having an emphasis on that, I think, will change a lot of people's minds, and including the kids' minds, because kids are they get very stressed out. Even elementary kids get very stressed out because we, as a community, we put a lot of pressure on them.
Yep.
And we say, MCAs are coming, you've got to do a good job. And so it's tough on some of these kids. That we have more and more mental health issues every day, and things like this just doesn't help with that when it's a one-time shot. So there's a lot to play, but to answer your question about what do we take from this, we take it as it's a reminder that we teach kids that they're not robots, that there's so much that goes into a kid's learning and the kid's education, that it's not just one test score. So
I really appreciate the way you track them through the year. That's really positive.
Yeah.
Thank you. And to everyone.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Moving along, school board representative. That would be you.
Yep.
Reintroduce yourself.
Hi,
please.
I'm Grant Schlichting. I'm a junior in the class of 2018, and sorry I was a bit late. I was in the IMC waiting for the meetings. That's where it was held for robotics, so my bad about that, but I'm here now, so that's what matters. So I don't know if this was covered at the last meeting, but on September 20th, a group of kids were selected from Cannon Falls schools to go and attend We Day, which is a fest in the XL Energy Stadium that we attended last year as well. And what We Day is about is there's a group at Cannon Falls called We Act, which is assembled between the Student Council, Interact, and also I think the NHS participates in as well. And so this is to get the groups together and do community service projects, not only to help Cannon Falls, but also our nation as well. So we did the giving tree, so we collected stuff and then gave it to the homeless. I don't know if we did a food shelter run, but I think that may have been one of them. And so we do these other fundraising activities. And at the end of it, because you do this, then you can send some kids to the We Day Festival in the XL Energy Stadium. And this year, Buzz Aldrin was there, and he gave an inspirational speech. And other high names were there as well to tell the kids, good job, and push forward again next year. And so some elementary and high school kids went to that. Also, on October 9th, we just had the color run that the junior class officers helped put on. And so yesterday they had the run. Around 200 people were signed up, and some more people also signed up for same-day registration at around $30 per person. That was a good amount of cash that went to the senior class officers to help fundraise for prom and I believe other activities around the Cannon Falls School. We just had the homecoming stressful week just finished last week, and the final score of the football game I believe was 52-6, so that was a good win for the Bombers. And the volleyball girls' homecoming game is tomorrow night, and so they'll be competing there. Today, the girls' varsity section tournament was played, and the team scored second place overall in our section. So that was very good for the varsity tennis girls. And the trap team has had 3 of their 5 competitions so far, and right now they're ranked 3rd in their conference of 7 or 8 schools, so that's very uplifting for them. And the musical is getting prepared for November 10th through the 13th, Bye Bye Birdie. So that's what's going on in Cannon Falls. No problem.
When is that musical again?
The 10th through 13th of November. Yep.
Thank you, Grant.
No problem.
School board committee reports. Does anyone have anything? Have we met at all at any
I meet this week at Tech. That'll be later,
tech?
later this week, yeah.
Staff development met today.
What's that?
Staff development committee met after school today. Just kind of a review of everything that was going on in different areas. Curriculum, elementary, high school, individual committees, help me out, guys. Mentor program, technology, teacher evaluation. So it was kind of we've got a new lead to that committee, Rachel Skunas, and we've got 2 new leads at the high school for staff development this year. So kind of a getting your feet wet meeting today.
Okay. Anyone else? Moving down, administrative board reports. I don't think this is our week, is it? I would put that. Administration, got anything for us?
I don't know if Beth would have heard or not, but I just want to say, so we've been working on this Boosterthon Fun Run, and I presented last year, I think the PTO at Dante Elementary decided on this company called Boosterthon, and then the work that they do, and they pledge money per lap for to culminate at this fun run that we had last Friday. And I'd like to say that that it was a tremendous success. We're looking at, and we've got pledged over 30,000 right now towards new playground equipment, and our goal was 12,000. So it was needless to say, it was way above our expectations, and so it's pretty exciting to have them. Right now we're working on, because it's a pledging process now, this week is collections, so we're hoping that we'll collect as much as people said that they would pledge. So the company's pretty confident they usually get at least 99%. So, but it's pretty neat. So we'll be looking at some new playground equipment. It won't necessarily be a play structure like we already have. We have 2 of them already. But it's going to be something different, unique, something that is not the normal, climb up the steps, go across the bridge, and slide down type equipment. Something that requires a little bit more collaboration or creativity or climbing. I don't know. We'll see.
Based on your success, will you upgrade your previous thoughts?
For the goal?
Well, your goal was 12. You got closer to 30. Does that mean we're going to have more stuff or more enhanced stuff?
Well, so yeah, our original proposal that we put together was right around 20,000 in terms of what we could purchase. We met with the preschool staff. We met with some other reps from the elementary, and then presented at the PTO meeting, along with Dave Peterson and the company that we chose to go through with it. So yes, now we get to look at some other stuff. And I have not gone out to other businesses or other entities that might wish to contribute to it. So we're still at the ground level. 12 was my goal, with hopes that I could raise 8 more, by soliciting other businesses or other people. So who knows? Maybe I can get up to 40. We'll see. But it's a good problem to have right now, is deciding what else to get. So
Thank you. Moving along, public input. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to anything involving school? Moving on. We have no old business. Under new business, item number 1 is consideration to approve the annual assurance of compliance equity laws. It was in your packet. Beth has stated that this is very standard approval that you do each year. If you approve, you are stating that you agree that District 252 will comply with all the items and laws listed below. It's the SOUP's recommendation to approve. And here are about 18 or 20 issues, laws that we should. When I read this, I thought it said that we had to have these things on hand.
We do. We have a copy of each of those in each of our buildings. It's required.
So based on that, this is more housekeeping than anything else. If anybody has any questions, we would entertain them. Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Kurt. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the MREA membership 2016-2017. We belong to C, which is Schools for Equity in Education. The MREA is an organization that is very much like C, The biggest difference between MREA is working on the legislation that would allow our Cannon Falls farmers to get a tax break on operating referendum, much like that of the building referendum. They're giving us a membership for 1 year at half price. This would give us an opportunity to see if we like them or not.
Do you know what the cost is by chance?
Yes.
Yep, it was something, I think 17?
1174.
What was it?
1174.
Okay.
And the full cost would be 2347.
So I guess I don't know a lot about it, maybe you could expand on it a little bit more, but what are the benefits in general compared to what we're doing now? Do you-
It would be, they're lobbying more for the agricultural areas.
So this is just money going to support the lobbyist group?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it would give you a good opportunity to see if it's, going to be a good bang for your buck down the road. You don't have to commit any further than this 1 year at half price.
So, based on your experience, the difference between an operating referendum and a building referendum for a farmer, an ag person, would be what?
The tax, go ahead. Yeah, Nora, you have
I can
experience.
answer that. Instead of just getting taxed on 1 acre and a house and garage, you get taxed on everything.
So the operating referendum says you get taxed on everything.
Other way around.
Other way around, the building.
Homestead in the 1 acre. Unoperated.
And how do you know if this is successful, the lobbying?
That's what you would be sampling, I guess,
Okay.
at a reduced cost.
They were involved with lobbying for the LOR back when we received that $425 per student. They were all actually lobbying with us as well for that levy that we were able to do without voter approval, at $300 levy.
Correct.
So I think they were somewhat responsible for Cannon Falls receiving one of the highest increases in student aid that we've ever received here about 3 years ago. So they've done good for us without us being a participant. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve. They've already helped us out and we've already picked up funds from them for not being involved in it.
So what we're approving here is a 1 year.
1 year, at half price MREA membership.
Yep. Rob, you second?
Yep.
Okay. Other discussion?
No, we're not, are we a part of anything else right now? Any type
Yes,
of-
you're part of the
C, and that is,
The Schools for Equity in Education.
Yeah.
and so basically, they all fight for one thing, but this is, the big thing is for the
Our
farmer.
rural.
Rural issue, okay, gotcha.
Which would fit our area probably better.
Exactly.
You know, versus the.
Exactly.
Minneapolis.
New farmers around here?
Just a couple.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the MREA membership for the upcoming year. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 16-17 winter head coaches. I think that's an attachment that you have. Boys basketball is Josh Davison, wrestling is Dudley, Jamie Swimming is dance, Samantha McCamey is girls basketball, and Scott Safe is weightlifting. Did we, Superintendent just left a brief sentence that says she's recommending us to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the winter head coaches.
I'll second the motion.
All right, you guys are quick. Motion by Kurt, seconded by Rob, correct?
Yes.
Other discussion?
Few of us here, so it's easy.
Did you guys get the email from Jake on the basketball?
I
Yeah.
did.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the following resolution. Resolution. Resolution, huh? The Minnesota Association of School Administrators requests that the Minnesota State High School League Constitution be amended in order to allocate 2 designated seats for superintendents on the MSHSL Board of Directors. Jerry, do you have anything? I've been in close contact with our rep, Jerry, that would be you.
Yeah, no, they're just looking to add superintendents to the board on the Minnesota State High School League.
Broadening the scope, I would
Right.
guess, huh?
Yep.
How many seats are there currently? Any for superintendents or
I
one?
don't think there's any for
I don't
superintendents.
think there is.
So it's gonna open up 2.
It's gonna open up 2 for superintendents around the state, so I think their hope is metro and outstate or north-south. I don't know that, they're trying to get the seats to Sarawak
Right.
as a starting point, and then I don't know if that'll be predetermined
Right.
by the superintendents or who makes that determination exactly.
How big is the board already? Just out of curiosity, do you know?
I think there's 3, there's 7?
There's reps for every geographic area, I think.
Okay.
And then there's,
There's the head, Steve. There's
I
2.
think there would be a minimum of 12.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have all the areas, all the regional areas, plus you have Dave, Steed, and 1 or 2 of their associates as well involved in it. Yeah.
So we need a motion and a second and a resolution roll call?
Correct.
Great.
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of the following resolution that Bob read already.
Motion by Rob, seconded by Kurt. Okay, any other discussion? In the absence of Brenda, we'll just go around the room. Kurt?
Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Bob? Yes. Rob?
Yes.
It passes by a 4-0 vote. Okay, the agenda was light this evening and we are completed with it. You see what's coming down the road at the next regular meeting. Dave Peterson and a facility update, Jeff Seeley on refunding opportunities, winter assistance, the seniority list, and Form A from the high school league. Okay, anyone wish to make a motion to adjourn? We could entertain that.
I'll make that motion.
Jerry on the motion to adjourn, second? You're gonna keep it here. Seconded by Kurt. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are finished.